Tonight is a night where we will be victorious. We will pillage all of Eastern Europe and collect the fruits of our labor. Now, men, I want to know who exactly is ready to fight. Monkey!
Hello world of YouTube and welcome to my Watsky Discography review. If you've never heard of Watsky, he's a California MC who's actually been around for quite a while, but he started making a lot more buzz a couple of years ago whenever his video Pale Kid Raps Fast blew up here on the YouTubes. That's how I found him, and I've been hooked on his stuff ever since. And he's started, you know, to branch out even more. He's working on his second album, which is awesome, but I'm here today to talk about his 6 releases that he's put out. His first album with the project Invisible Ink, his first solo album, Watsky, his mixtape with Guilty Pleasures, I guess he's a DJ, called Guilty Pleasure, or with Procrastination, called Guilty Pleasures, his mixtape A New Kind of Sexy, his EP that came out this year called Watsky and Modi, and his other mixtape that came out this year called Nothing Like the First Time. Now, one of the attributes of Watsky that people seem to really be drawn towards, and what kind of drew me to him at first, was the fact that he can rap extremely fast. But the more I listened to him, the more I realized that it wasn't just that. He also was a bit of a clever MC. He always had clever punchlines, and he would usually talk about stuff that really intrigued me. And he's also tried to do things instrumentally that not a lot of MCs do, and I respect him for that. So I'm going to be talking about all that with each album. And that's kind of a bit of broad generalization as to why I like Watsky. Let's go ahead and get this show started. Now, the first thing that was released with him as a part of it was an LP with the group Invisible Ink, actually. It was released back in 2007, and it was him and 2 other artists. This album actually kind of reflects the style that Watsky goes towards instrumentally. This is very similar to the style you could see him doing now, and it shows on the self-titled release that came out after this, but it's very jazzy with some electronic drums and keyboards. That's a lot of what the production is, and what I think is interesting about this is that even though it's like that, I don't really like this album from an instrumental standpoint. Lyrically, Watsky's doing his thing. He's, you know, spitting a bunch of different flows. He's spitting a bunch of rhymes about love or about optimism. Like, the first half of this almost seems like a huge optimistic piece. It's not until you get until around the Tango Mr. Nice Guy thing where he's kind of defending himself as the type of person that he is and describing who he is, and then after that you really get into some other different styles of lyricism, which is great because it kind of feels a bit candy-coated. And I mean, Watsky's not the hardest MC, but I mean, like, a lot of the first half of this thing just seems overly sweet, if I were to describe it. I mean, it all seems a lot of the same until you get to about Good Foot Forward, and that's when it really starts to change up lyrically, when it talks about, you know, hanging with your crew and stuff. But the one thing I don't really like about that beat is that it has a sample or a cover on the keyboard of the Final Countdown, and the way that it syncopates with the drums just takes a while to sit in, and it doesn't really, it takes me a while to actually sink into that song, and it's, I don't know, it kind of threw me off when I was listening to it. It's a very odd song, or it's not odd, it's just, it didn't sit well with me as a track. I mean, Watsky still sounds great on it, but instrumentally, this thing is not the best thing he's done, or that he's been a part of from a production standpoint. The drums all sound very tinny, they don't have a lot of kick to them. There's a couple of instances where that changes up, like, especially on the tail half, like on Raise Your Hand, that happens, which also has a guitar solo in it, which is very odd, but there's tracks like that have a really good punch to the drums, but a lot of it is just very tinny drum-wise, and it just sounds really weird, especially when you hear some of the stuff that he has now, and it does have somewhat of at least somewhat of a kick to the drums. So, yeah, but this album is kind of a lot of what would be a precursor to his solo work, especially lyrically, obviously, because he spits on most of this thing. If the other 2 guys are artists, they don't come in until the tail half of the album, and really, aside from those complaints, it's decent. If you want to hear Watsky before he was before he had this solo thing going on, check it out. I mean, it wasn't my favorite thing he's done, but I didn't hate it. It wasn't terrible from a listen or two. But my favorite track on it was The Pocket. I liked the storytelling of music as a comfort, at least with Watsky's verse. and how it just kind of comes with comfort from your pocket. I liked it. I thought it was nice. I thought it was a nice little track about that. But yeah, overall, it's alright. We can talk about his first solo release now, though, which I really do enjoy. And the next thing he released was a solo album. He was disconnected from Invisible Ink. I don't know what happened there, but he's doing solo. He did this is the beginning of a solo work, and it's the first thing he released was a self-titled LP called Watsky, which you can get on iTunes if you would like. And to describe the sound of this thing, it's a lot similar to Invisible Ink's sonically. It's just a bit more amped up. The synths are a lot more richer. The drums have a lot more of that punch to them, which I enjoy. And the jazz elements that are there are done a lot better, like on which blends that style of the synths with the jazz and all that stuff pretty damn well. But I mean, you have the moments like on Waking Hour that have these really good swells to them, and the electronic drums that are there sound a lot more crisp. But then you have songs like Seizure Boy that kind of combine the live instrumentation with the synthesizers and stuff, again, like on Invisible Ink, but a lot better. And lyrically, this thing is a lot more about him, which Invisible Ink seemed a bit more broad. This seems a lot more focused on himself, what experiences he shared, stuff like that, like on fucking MC Name. It's about him wanting to just be himself. He doesn't want to have to label himself with something that he's not, you know. Seizure Boy talking about him being picked on for being this kid who seizured out a lot, and it's kind of funny because in response to that, he does like a parody rap song, because there's a producer on the record telling him, hey, you got to make more stuff that's more typical, and he does that as a joke. So he kind of blends the serious subject matter with a lot of jokes, and I think that that's really cool. It's a fun way to do hip-hop, and you can tell that he really just wants to do that. Like, I mean, he has a song like Waking Hour, which is about wanting to be in the moment, wanting to get it on with this girl, and you just can't get it up. You just can't, you know, get a boner. And yeah, I mean, it's a funny record, and the messages that he's trying to convey are still there. He talks about his family a little bit, and it's a lovely little package of hip-hop with some good poetic vibes to it. His flow on this thing is fantastic. I mean, he has the songs that are a bit more laid back, like Headphones and parts of Seizure Boy, but there's some songs where he really just gets in it, like fucking MC Name and Fight 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 in some points. I mean, like, Watsky's showing his teeth as a spitter, but he's also, you know, being really chill about it. And yeah, I love the hell out of this thing. My favorite track is probably fucking MC Name. I think it's this version of it is much better, because I'll talk about it on the mashup mixtape thing that was put out next, but that review will be a lot shorter. But yeah, I like this thing. It's great. If you haven't picked it up, I'd either start with this or a new kind of sexy, and I'll talk about why. But this is a good introduction to Watsky, to be honest, his first solo release, because you get what kind of MC he's gonna be, and you kind of see where he kind of ventures off a little bit. And I think that this is a good balance. So if you want to start with Watsky, I definitely recommend starting with this. It's the only thing you have to buy, aside from Invisible Ink, if you want to check that out. But I recommend it. It's great. And plus you support an MC who definitely deserves it. So, yeah. Favorite song, fucking MC Name on this. Let's go to the mashup thing, shall we? Now, the next thing he released was a free mashup album called Guilty Pleasures, which is his vocals from the self-titled thing, most of them being mashed up with various beats. I mean, he's spitting on stuff like Crazy by Gnarls Barkley. There's an Eminem track on here from As the World Collapsed. I think there's even a Miley Cyrus thing on here with Party in the USA. Like, this thing, he goes all over the place with this thing, and I mean, it's cool. This was actually the first thing I picked up by him, because I wanted to see what he sounded like before I picked up the album and branched out to everything else. This came out around the time that I was getting into him, and the one thing I do like about this that the solo album doesn't do is that it puts together Headphones and Amplify, because those songs go so well together. It's awesome that they are put together on this thing, and I don't like how they're separate on the album, because whenever I listen to the album and it's on shuffle, or if I'm shuffling through Watsky and Headphones comes on, I want Amplified to come right after that, and if it doesn't, it just sounds weird to me. And also, Headphones and Amplified are sped up a little bit to match Watsky's style, which I also do like. I mean, I don't mind when Watsky spits slow, but those songs again sound so much better on this than they do on the album itself. But aside from that, the only other thing he changed was he took out goat, and he put in this funny joke conversation that he would have with Justin Bieber, I guess, where he talks and then it takes clips from interviews, and it's pretty funny. And also the track order is mixed up a little bit. But yeah, if you like the if you want to hear him do some bold stuff, because he not even just the stuff I mentioned, he also spits on Outkast and just a cavalcade of other things that when I listened to it, I was like, wow, what? He's doing this, and he does a really great job. The only other complaint I have about this thing, the only complaint I really have about this thing, if anything, is that I don't like how some of the choruses fit with some of the songs. Like the one that does Crazy. I don't remember what Crazy is on here, but Crazy is on one of these. And the way the chorus comes in does not mesh the beat with the beat well. And I don't like how on fucking MC Name, the bridge is taken out and it's like, it goes right into Beat It by Michael Jackson. It just sounds very odd. But, aside from that, this is a really good mashup. I mean, I do like some of this more than the actual release. But other than that, it's the same thing. It's the same thing as the album, just with some altercations. So I really have nothing else to say. Favorite thing on here is probably either Headphones Amplified or the Seizure Boy on here, because I like the Seizure Boy on here a little bit more than I do on the solo album too. They're kind of hand in hand though. I like them fairly closely, but yeah. Let's talk about another mixtape, or his first mixtape, shall we? And the next thing he released was a mixtape called A New Kind of Sexy, which came out last year. And if you saw my mixtapes of the year, mixtapes free albums of the year last year, this was on there. I really love this thing. It's more of what you would get from Watsky. It's got the but a bit more on the comical side, because I mean he has a track on here like Pauly Shore Saw My Penis, which is just a weird story that he decided to put into a song, or Women, 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 which is the same thing, or Kidnap Your Boyfriend, which is like a cutesy song, but it's got that comical side to it. A lot more on the beats on here are a bit more obscure. I know that some of them are still stuff that are not his, but he's being a bit more obscure with it, while having some produced stuff on here as well. Like, he does have some notable stuff on here, like The Show Goes On mini mix, which is fantastic. I love that. I like the little bits of Watsky where he's just spitting fast to a beat. Like, I don't mind his full-fledged songs, but I do like those little almost interludes where he's just spitting something that has a theme that's very short. It just shows, like, him, how good he is as a poet to me, and I like it a lot. But, I mean, aside from that, he's spitting on, like, Foster the People. He spits on Pumped Up Kicks, which I like better than the original song. I like the Watsky version more. I just think it's fantastic. It ties the theme of Pumped Up Kicks with his own spin on it very well. And he also spits on Dance by Justice, or D-A-N-C-E. D-A-N-C by Justice. And he does a great job on that too. It's showing that he's a bit more diverse. Like, the mashup thing, if I didn't explain that enough, already shows how much diverse, I guess, his musical tastes are, but this kind of further expands that. He has the guests on here. I didn't really talk about the guests on the solo EP, or solo LP, but they do a fantastic job on there. The hooks on there are really well done with the beats that they're put on. That doesn't transgress over well to Guilty Pleasures, but the hooks on there are fantastic. Especially Waking Hour. I love the way that the Miriam girl sings that hook. She does a really good job on it. But this New Kind of Sexy mixtape, it's a free download. You can check it out below. All the stuff, by the way, except for the solo LP, which was on his Bandcamp but isn't anymore, you can check out down below on his Bandcamp page. I highly suggest you do so, because I like Watsky and you should support his stuff. But anyway, I like this thing. I think that it's great. I think that he does a good job of continuing his pseudo-comical, pseudo-serious lyricism with a really good flow. Because, again, he rides on some of these beats just so well. Like, the Pumped Up Kicks is why I like it so much. He flows on the beats or he flows on the instrumental so well. And you have tracks like A New Kind of Sexy where you're it's kind of a positive song, but it has a really good message behind it, but it's done in such a comical way, like bringing a new kind of sexy into the picture. Like, talking about having pimples and having some physical problems like scars, pimples, all that kind of stuff, or being very stubble-filled and not with a full beard or anything. How that's sexy, how you're flexing that, you're being the man, you're being the boss with it, you know, you're rocking what you got. And it's one thing I like about Watsky, and he has, like, the more serious tracks are more towards the end, like Ask Me Anything, where it's talking about, like, it's a Never Have I Ever game, almost, where it's just, or no, that's 10 Fingers. 10 Fingers is that. Ask Me Anything is just talking about, how you can confide in him, how you can be a good friend to him, and, yeah. I mean, again, it's really cool, and it closes out well with 4 a.m. Monday, one of the last tracks on here, where he's on a Diddy beat, and he's just talking about how this may be the end, but I'm not close to done. This may be the end of this thing, but I'm already working on the next one, you know? So, yeah, I love this thing. I think it's great, and I keep revisiting it. I can't not listen to this thing. It's so damn good. I love A New Kind of Sexy. It's probably my favorite Watsky project. I mean, I'm loving Nothing Like the First Time, but I love A New Kind of Sexy so much. It's just really good. It's a really good mixtape. But yeah, that's about it. My favorite track on here is the Pumped Up Kicks remix, just because I really like the way that sounds. And, yeah, that's about it. Let's talk about his first release of this year, shall we? And the next thing he released was an EP called Watsky and Modi, which was him in collaborative with musician Modi, and it's a bluegrass, it's dubbed a bluegrass folk rock hip hop EP, and it pretty much is that. It's got banjos, it's got acoustic guitars, it's got live percussion, and it's got a really awesome vibe to it. I really enjoyed this thing. I mean, it's one of my favorite EPs of the year. I love the way it starts with just him, a banjo, and just him spitting fast about being stuck in traffic and how it pisses him off. I mean, and it's got this kind of jokey vibe to the whole culture, which is kind of odd because you have artists like Yellow Wolf who've done it in the past and do it in a very serious way and do it very well. Arena Rap EP, I'm talking about that if you haven't listened to Yellow Wolf, which I will review one day. But anyway, Watsky and Modi, it kind of takes a comical side to the whole bluegrass thing. There's hillbilly skits in between it where he's kind of just speaking in a voice is very stereotypical to country folk while introducing some of the songs. Like in Kick Monday, he does that. Wax comes in and plays as this famous musician, and Watsky's character freaks out, and then he plays him Kick Monday, which is a great song about just surviving the week, you know. And that's another thing. This thing just kind of helps. This thing is just more of that optimistic message. But it has songs that are actually in existence in it as well, like Man of Constant Sorrow, which is a cover of an old, I guess, country song. Same with Mrs. Robinson. If you don't know what Mrs. Robinson is, it's a remake of that, which I don't like that much. The remake is okay. I don't like the singer on the hook, Danny McClain. I guess that's who that is. It doesn't sit well with me as a remake. It's probably my least favorite song Watsky's done, to be honest. It's just because it doesn't sit well. I like the original. I like the Simon & Garfunkel song, Mrs. Robinson. I think it's a fantastic song. And I even like the Lemonheads cover, but this was just a weird version of it that I didn't like too much. But aside from that, it's a great thing. I do like the Man of Constant Star remake. I think that the hook on that is great, the way that it's redone. I like the redoing of that, and I do like Kick Monday. I think that him and Wax do a really good job playing off of each other, and I think that it's a nice, uplifting track. And Ghost Party is really cool, too. Ghost Party is the next to last track on here, because the beginning and the end are just him spinning really fast to banjo and bluegrass music going on, but Ghost Party is a spoken word with a folk guitar track, and I like the way that that's done. It talks about being optimistic even in the afterlife, and how that's not just... It's kind of just it's kind of seems like one of those monologues that you talk about with your friends under the stars. That's just kind of how I picture it. It's just him and the singer of the hook, Micah Pauly. I do have the track listing below me. Just talking about just everything. It just seems like one of those late nights that you have with your friends where you just lay there and you talk about life. You talk about the afterlife. You talk about death. You talk about in an optimistic way. And it's really cool. I like the feeling of that song. It's got a really good homey feel to it. It's got a very home warm feel to it, and that's helped with the production of this thing. The production of this thing is really warm. It's very wholesome. It seems very based in what it's rooted in, like country and folk and all that stuff, and I like that. I really like that. I think that that's fantastically done. It brings in, while I'm not a fan of those genre of country music, I do like the fact that I do like how it borrows from it and makes it alright to me, because, I mean, I hate the way country music is constructed. I will say that to anyone, because it's something that's not for me. But I do like when artists like this bring it into the style and make it their own. I respect them for doing it, and if they do it well, like they do with this, it sounds great. You know, the guitars sound very rich and lush, and the percussion sounds, again, very punchy. The drums on this thing are done very well. And the banjo, while I do love the banjo, it's something that I think is really utilized well. The bluegrass aspect of it is tackled very well, because I was interested to see what he would do, and he accomplished it full-heartedly. I love this thing. It's fantastic. Favorite song on here is probably Man of Constant Sorrow. Or no, Ghost Party. Ghost Party is probably my favorite. Man of Constant Sorrow is second favorite. But yeah, that's that. Go download it if you haven't. It's good. Let's move on to the last thing he's released, aside from a live album, which I won't talk about, shall we? And the last thing he released, which was this year, was another free mixtape called Nothing Like the First Time, which came out a couple of months ago. And it's another free thing. You can go check it out. And this is kind of like a collage of the Procrastination mixtape, or mashup thing, with a new kind of sexy. You have a lot more notable beats that he's spitting on. He's spitting on Aliyah, he's spitting on Nelly, he's spitting on The Throne with the first track, Ninjas in Paris, which is obviously Ninjas in Paris. This thing kind of has a different turn for him, because there is that comical side, there's that serious / comical side, that being in 100 words you could say instead of swag, where he's kind of directly attacking swag culture in a joke, which is hilarious. That's one of my favorites on here, because he's on a beat that I know and I love, and he's just making a complete set of jokes about it, and I love it. But, I mean, it's kind of feels like he's being more reflective on how things have been for him since this explosion of holy crap, I made a viral video on the internet, you know? And he's being a lot more mature about it. Like, again, he has the songs like 100 Words You Can Say Into the Swag, or Gummy Bear 100 Air, which is or like in that and Ninjas in Paris, which is like him doing braggadocious tracks in a hilarious way. But he does have tracks like Write Your Name and All I Ever Wanted, and the last track, Nothing Like the First Time, where he's being more reflective, or he's being more reflective about himself in a very serious manner. Like Write Your Name kind of feeling like a retrospective of how he feels after he's done all this stuff that he had talked about, or that he dreamed about. And I think it's really cool. I think that it's cool that he shows that he still wants to keep his head, or his feet on the ground, but his head in the clouds. This thing does a really good job of blending the serious with the jokey, because aside from the braggadocious tracks, you also have songs like I Don't Give a Fuck, and Stupid Ass, which is a song he did beforehand, which is probably my favorite on here. I love the beat of that thing, and I love the style of the track. I think he flows better on the slower beat when he's spitting a little bit fast. I think that song is just really well compiled. And I like the message of it all, not wanting to change your past, even if you've done stupid shit. But, again, that's a perfect example. He has a serious message, but he does it in a joking way, and his opinion on it. But, yeah, I do like this thing. It's not my favorite thing Watsy's done, but I do really enjoy it. And it is one of my favorite mixtapes, free albums of the year so far. And I highly suggest checking it out, because aside from this great compilation of things, and with a great closer like Nothing Like the First Time, you do get three interpretations of songs he's done on other people's beats, like the Nothing Like the First Time, but Show Goes On is on here, and 4 AM is on here as well. So I think that's interesting, because I didn't get to see Watsky on tour. I was planning to when he went to the Philly show, but I didn't get the chance to because I couldn't afford it. But yeah, hopefully I'll see Watsky on his next tour. And that's pretty much going to wrap up my review. My favorite song is Stupid Ass, and I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this review. I enjoyed making it. I am Viralrak. I have been Viralrak. You guys have good days, lives, and situations, and I'll see you another day.